getting things done. In my 10 years as Prime Minister of Britain, and then in the many years afterwards that I've spent helping governments around the world, I see very, very familiar challenges. Getting things done in government is hard. When you make change, there are vested interests that will stand in the way. People very often agree to reforms in principle, but just don't like them in practice. Sometimes bureaucracies can be slow to move and difficult to move. And also, when you're in a position of leadership, there's 1,000 different things that come on your desk, intended or not, that can create what I used to think of as a kind of conspiracy of distraction, where all the time you're wanting as a leader to be delivering for your people, but then there's all these other things happening that keep you from it. So I learned a lot in my first term of government, and I changed the system at the heart of the British government after that first term. And the basic structure that I changed, which is to move from a situation where the purpose of the machine was simply to give advice to politicians, to a situation where the purpose of the machine was to deliver for the people. We constructed the first delivery unit, and these delivery units now proliferate all around the world, and they can operate at a national level and also, of course, at a regional or state level. But in doing so, I needed to refocus government and to change the way we operated. And I came to the conclusion that there were 4 elements, what I used to call the 4 Ps of good governance: prioritization, policy, personnel, performance management. And let me say a few words about each in turn. Prioritization is a very difficult thing to do in government. It's easy to say, but it's hard to do because, in a sense, everything you do is a priority. Everything matters. But in the end, if you're a leader and you know you've got a limited term in office, if you try to do everything, you'll likely end up doing nothing. So getting those key priorities, the 4 or 5 big things that you want to define your time as leader by, those are things that are absolutely essential to establish because they direct the system, they give it clarity, and they give it the command that it requires in order to work effectively. So prioritization is absolutely vital. Often I see reports, usually done by outsiders, which list hundreds of different things that need to happen in a country or in a region. The truth is, you'll never get all of them done, but you can, if you focus down on key priorities, get those at least done. The second thing is policy. And policy is tough. I often speak with leaders and I ask them to describe their policy agenda. And they describe it, and I say to them, actually, what you've told me are ambitions. They're not policies. Now, ambitions are good things. We should all be ambitious. But it's not the same as a policy. A policy is a worked out, clear roadmap to deliver. In other words, it analyzes what the problem is, it organizes what the solution should be, and then it sets the stage for it to be delivered. But it's a tough thing to do, policy. The good news, though, is that around the world today, there are great examples of policy solutions that do work. People always think their own situation is unique. It really isn't. Someone, whatever problem you have, someone somewhere will be trying it and getting it right. But getting policy in good order, very tough, but absolutely vital. The third thing, of course, is personnel. Now, we all know this. In any walk of life, it's all about the people who work for you. If you get good quality people who are committed, determined, share the vision, want the thing to happen, you're going to have a better chance than having people who are maybe tired, perhaps they don't really agree, perhaps they just lost that commitment. So drawing a good group of people around the leader, absolutely vital. And I always used to say to people, 4 or 5 really good people in a government department can change that department forever. But if you don't have them, you can't do it. So personnel, absolutely essential. And the fourth is performance management. Now, what I mean by that is delivery, implementation. The thing is, implementation is difficult because, as I always say to people from the outside who think politics are easy and want to criticize politicians for not doing well enough or doing this or not doing that, come and try and do it if you think it's that easy. It's not, it's hard. But performance management means adopting, in a sense, what any company would do in order to deliver its results. It's a focused program of tracking every step of the way to getting the job done, to delivering what was promised. So those priorities need the right policy, they need the right personnel, but they also need that performance management, staying on it, tracking it, dealing with every obstacle that comes your way, but making sure that in the end, that performance is managed through the resolution. So these are just lessons that I learned that I've tried to apply in different countries around the world. The final thing I want to say is this, however. It's a great honor to be in a position of authority and power. But it's also, these are tough jobs to do. And the reason why I always have sympathy with people who are in positions of leadership is that you're always going to get criticized. There's always someone going to be trying to take you down. And in the end, you've got to be strong enough and determined enough to keep going. Because in the end, even if you don't always get thanked for it, delivering for the people is the most heartwarming and satisfying thing that you can do. So I wish everyone well. I know it's going to be a big few months for Kenya. There's a very important Africa Climate Summit being hosted by President Ruto, which I think is going to be a precursor to the COP28 summit in Dubai towards the end of the year. I congratulate him for the leadership he's showing on this issue. And I think that's an indication of Kenya's ambition today, of its ability to lead. And in the end, the most important thing is to get those things that you know the people need delivered for them. It is a tough job, but it's an honor to do it. And I am very honored to be able to say these words to you today. I wish you the very best for the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Our keynote speaker, Tony Blair. We want to thank him for that powerful keynote, which has set the stage for this devolution. He has underscored the importance of taking services down to Mwananchi. And he has said of the need to prioritize, the need to develop responsive policies, the need to have highly motivated and competent personnel, among other things. And now to help us unpack this subject matter, we are going to call upon His Excellency Governor Mutahi Kahiga, EGH, the Governor, Nyeri County. He's going to address the issue of performance contracting. Allow me to at this point, to thank the President, National Government of the Republic of Kenya for leading the way by signing performance contracts at the national level. Performance contracting is a top leadership tool of holding executives to account for their performance, for managing
Well, the proceedings of the 8th Devolution Conference there that has already kicked off in Eldoret Sports Club in Uasin Gishu County, and earlier on we saw the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Tony Blair, speaking during